record? Yeah. All right, we are back on record in State of Alaska versus Daniel Buckingham. Parties are present. We are outside the presence of the jury. The remaining juror that was not present this morning has not shown up, so as I said before, I'm prepared to go forward without that juror. That juror down to 12 jurors. I will be issuing an order to show cause as to that juror, given the fact that he has failed to appear, and further action can be taken on that juror. Anything further to be heard on that, Mr. Byther?
Not on that, Judge.
Mr. Hange, anything further to be heard?
No.
Court's made its previous rulings with regard to the 404. There was an objection that was going to be lodged with regards to asking a question.
Sorry, we reached a resolution on that, Judge.
Sounds great.
I'm withdrawing it. If she changes her answer, I'm going to impeach her with her prior statement. The state said that would be. So I modified it to the way that the state requested. So
I was actually going to rule that way anyway. So
we all reached the same proper legal conclusions.
Okay. Let's bring the jury in. They are all sitting outside, and so, officer, if you want to do that, I would appreciate that. If you can just let the jurors know. You can do as you see fit, ma'am. I stay seated, but you can do as you see fit.
I don't know. I just seen everyone just stand up. Everyone.
Yeah, that's because they're doing it out of respect for the jurors, but you're the one important here testifying, so you can do as you see fit. And ladies and gentlemen, you can be seated. Sorry, I apologize. I know some of you are being courteous in allowing people to pass through the aisle, but you are free to be seated. Looks like we're missing one juror. I believe it's Miss Tinker that might be missing. Counsel, you can be seated while we wait. Sir, in the back with the hat on, your name again? The hat. Yeah, what's your name, sir? What's your name? Huh? Yes, you. All right, I don't think you're on this jury. I think you need to go back out into the hallway. Thank you for your participation, though. We're still missing Miss Tinker. Rexanne? we've got everyone now in the courtroom. I want to thank everyone for being on time. As I said before last time, if you have your phone on, please turn it off. There's nothing more important going on in your lives right now than this hearing. So I want you to pay all your attention here and not have any distractions with your phone. So thank you. Mr. Byther, your next witness. Oh, I should say just so the record's clear, we're still on record in State of Alaska versus Daniel Buckingham. Parties are present. The jury is now present. Thank you, everyone. Mr. Byther, your next witness.
Yes, Judge, the state calls Kate Alukuk.
Alukuk, if you'll stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you'll provide in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. You may be seated. Can you please say and spell your full name?
Catherine Ilka, Katherynelukak.
Are you currently in school?
Yes.
And what grade are you in?
8th.
And where are you in school at?
BRHS.
That's here in Bethel?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to the parties. So, Mr. Byther, Ms. Alukak, before you are under oath, so you should consider yourself under oath, okay?
Mhm.
Mr. Byther, your witness.
All right, good afternoon, Kate. How are you doing?
Good.
All right, are you a little nervous?
Yeah.
You doing all right, though?
Yeah.
All right, do you like Kate or Catherine?
Kate.
Kate, okay. Kate, how old are you?
14.
All right, it makes a little, that might have been my mic. It makes a little noise sometimes. How old are you?
14.
You're 14 now?
Mhm.
Okay. And what grade did you say you're in?
8th.
All right. Are you from Bethel?
Yeah.
All right, do you still live here in Bethel?
Yeah.
Kate, do you know Tori and Jaslyn Parks?
Yes.
Who are they? How do you know?
They're my old friends.
Okay, they're your old friends.
Yes.
How long have you known them?
About 5 years.
Okay. You hang out with them a lot?
Used to.
You used to?
Yes.
Okay. And Kate, who is Daniel Buckingham?
I don't know how to explain that.
Sorry? I couldn't hear you.
I don't know how to explain that.
And Kate, if you want to, and if you're comfortable, can you take your mask off so everybody can hear you clearer? All right, thanks, Kate. How do you know Daniel Buckingham?
Met at AC with Tori and Jaslyn.
Okay, you met him with Tori and Jaslyn at AC?
Yes.
All right, so that's what I want to talk about first. What were you doing at AC?
Going on the Wi-Fi and hanging out.
And you said you were hanging out with Tori and Jaslyn?
Yes.
Did you guys used to go to AC to use the Wi-Fi together?
Yes.
Okay. When was it at AC that you met Daniel Buckingham? Do you remember how long ago that was?
I think 3 or 4 years.
3 or 4 years
Ago, yeah.
Do you remember what year it was?
2018, I think.
2018. Okay. How did you meet Daniel at AC Mart? How did that happen?
Me and Jasmine were arguing, and he came up saying, like, something, like, you know, if we're arguing, we're being mean to God, something like that.
That if you guys are arguing, then you're being mean to God?
Mhm.
Okay. What else did he say?
That's all.
Okay. And he said that, what did his voice sound like?
Like a creep. I don't know how to explain it. Just sounded.
I'd ask that the jury be instructed to disregard.
In testimony regarding perception by a lay witness, I think it's admissible.
Cool.
So, Kate, when you heard his voice, did it sound like you were talking to an adult or talking to a kid?
Adult.
You thought he sounded like an adult?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever hear him use a different voice?
No, not that I remember of.
just give me just a second here, Kate. Okay, so what happened after you met Daniel at AC Mart? Did he talk to you guys anymore?
Yeah, I think he hung out with us for a bit for some reason.
Did he say anything else to you at AC Mart?
Not that I remember of.
And you said this was 3 or 4 years ago?
Yes.
Do you think you remember everything that happened 3 or 4 years ago?
No.
Okay. Is it hard for you to remember?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So after you met Daniel at AC Mart, do you remember if he said anything to Tori?
Not that I remember of.
Okay. Did he ever give you anything at AC Mart?
Like that same day we met?
Any day at AC Mart, Did he ever give you anything?
Yeah.
What did he give you?
He gave us ice cream.
Did he ever give Tori anything?
I think a couple movies.
Do you know if he gave Tori anything else at AC Mart?
Soda. Like she told me that a couple times he bought her like a box of soda.
Okay. All right. So do you know the next time you saw Daniel after you met him at AC Mart?
On Friday when we went to the Friday thing.
Okay. And I know it's hard to remember, but that's what I want to talk about next is on the Friday that you saw him next. So I only want to talk about details that happened that day, okay? I know it's hard to remember, so if you can't remember, that's okay, but that's what I want to talk about next, okay? All right, so next time you said you saw him at the Friday thing. What's the Friday thing?
You know that Covenant Church?
That Covenant Church?
Across from here?
Across from this building?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They used to have these things like on Friday. They would like cook stuff and you go over there and eat, and after you just leave right after.
Okay, so they'd cook food on Fridays and then you could go eat?
Okay.
Do they do that all the time, or when do they do that?
I don't know anymore. I think they stopped.
You think they stopped?
Yeah.
Okay. When you went, this time when you went, who were you with?
Just me and Tori and Jaslyn.
You, Tori, and Jaslyn.
Okay.
Was this in the winter time or the summertime?
Winter.
Do you remember what year this was? Was this still in 2018 or was it a different year?
I think 2018.
Do you remember what month it was?
No. I think before Christmas.
It was before Christmas?
Yeah.
All right. So you go to the Friday eating with Tori and Jaslyn in 2018 before Christmas. Do you see Daniel there, or do you see Daniel after?
After.
You saw him after. Where did you see him?
On the road.
You saw him on the road? What happened when you saw Daniel then?
I think he just came back from the store.
Okay. And what happened?
I think it's that day he bought drumsticks and he tried asking Tori to follow him to his house.
So when you say drumsticks, what do you mean?
Like the ice cream drumsticks.
He gave you ice cream, or who did he give ice cream to?
All of us.
He gave ice cream to you, Tori, and Jaslyn. Right, and then he asked Tori to come back to his house? Okay. What did Tori say?
I think she said no because we had to go back home.
What happened after that? Did you go to Daniel's house?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And did all three of you go, or who went to Daniel's?
All three of us.
Okay. So you go to Daniel's house. What happened when you got to Daniel's house?
I think we just took off our stuff and we sat on the couch.
And what happened next?
I don't remember. I think it's that time he kept trying to cuddle with Tori.
So
that time she made that hole on his shirt, his favorite shirt.
Okay, so do you remember when you went to TWC and talked about everything that happened?
Mhm.
Okay, do you remember telling them that when you got to Daniel's after the Friday eating thing, that you guys had some snacks?
Yeah, I think.
Okay, so when you get to Daniel's, do you remember that now?
Kinda, yeah.
Okay, what kind of snacks did you have at Daniel's?
We made we made almonds with honey and put them in the oven. And made popcorn and had olives with jalapenos in them.
You had some almonds with honey and popcorn and jalapenos and olives?
Mhm.
Okay. What happened after you had some snacks?
I don't remember. It's kind of a blur right now.
When you went to TWC, do you remember telling them after you had some snacks you watched a video?
Oh, yeah. We were in his room, and he said, "You guys want to see a video?" I thought it was going to be like a funny video, and then he showed us this video, like, it was kind of animated, and it was about hell, and me and Jasmine started crying.
Okay, so I just want to jump back a little bit. So you had some snacks, and you were on the couch in his house. Where did you go after you had snacks on the couch?
In his room.
So you went in his room?
Mhm.
And who went in his room?
Me, Tori, and Jasmine were sitting on his bed.
Okay, so all three of you go and sit on his bed, and then he shows you this video?
Yes.
So, Kate, if you can just look at that monitor right in front of you, I'm going to play something, and I want you to tell me if you recognize it, okay?
Mhm.
And if you need me to turn the sound on, let me know. Just tell me when you recognize it. You recognize that yet?
Not yet. Oh, yeah, now I do.
Okay. So what you're looking at, have you seen that before?
Yes.
What is that?
It was a video that we watched that he showed us.
Okay, this is the video that Daniel showed you
Yes.
when all three of you were on the bed in his room?
Yes.
And this is the same video you saw?
Yes.
And Judge, at this point, the state would move to admit what's been marked as plaintiff's exhibit number 1 for identification purposes into evidence and publish to the jury.
Mr. Hangy?
No objection.
Hearing no objection, exhibit number 1 is offered and admitted and can be published for the jury at this time.
Judge, could we just turn this last light off? I think there's a switch by the door over there.
Right in front of the TV.
I think that's better, Judge. That's fine. So, Kate, that was the video that he showed you?
Yes.
And you guys watched that whole thing?
Mhm.
Did he tell you why he showed you that?
He said something about like us doing it, then we're gonna like be banished to hell for like eternity, something like that.
What were you thinking when you saw that?
About my parents.
What about them?
They used to drink a lot.
And how did you feel when you watched the video?
I don't know, I just thought about my parents, and yeah.
Did you cry?
Yeah.
Were you scared?
Yeah.
What did Jaslyn and Tori do?
Jaslyn was crying too, and Tori just kept telling us to cry so we could go home.
Did Daniel tell you anything else when he showed you the video?
Not that I remember.
Kate, how old were you back in 2018 when he showed you that video?
10 to 11.
10 or 11? Okay. So after you watch the video and you and Jaslyn are crying and Tori tells you to cry more so you can leave, what do you guys do next?
She acts like she has a call again from her dad, and she used the same excuse saying that he has a tracker in her phone when she actually didn't. He actually didn't have a tracker in her phone.
At some point after the YouTube video, did you guys hide?
Yeah, because his brother came to his house.
Okay. So after the YouTube video, whose brother comes to the house?
Daniel Truth, Buckingham's brother.
Mr. Twitchell, I need you to sit up. Thank you.
All right. And when Daniel's brother comes to the house, what do you guys do?
Hide.
Why do you hide when he comes to the house?
Because he told us to be quiet.
Daniel told you to be quiet?
Yes.
So you guys all go hide?
Yes.
Did Daniel say anything to his brother?
He just said, I think he either said he was busy or trying to sleep.
Did he let his brother inside?
No.
What was his brother doing?
Knocking on the door, asking him if he was okay.
So he's knocking on the door and Daniel won't let him in?
Mhm.
Okay, and he tells him he's busy or sleeping or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. All right, and so does his brother ever come inside?
No.
So after he tells him he's busy, what does his brother do?
He leaves after that.
He leaves. Okay, and then you guys are hiding. What happens next?
I was coming out from under the bed because I hid under the bed, and if I went head first, then my head would have hit a nail because there was a nail sticking out on one of the legs of the bed, and so I went legs first, and right when like half of my body was out, I felt someone slap my butt, and I thought it was Tori. I asked Tori how come she did that, and she said it was Daniel.
Okay. So you felt somebody slap your butt, and you thought it was Tori, and then Tori said it was Daniel that did it?
Yeah.
Was Tori in the room when that happened?
Yes.
Okay. After you got up, what did you do?
I don't remember. I think I pushed Daniel off of Tori, like, 'cause I think they were cuddling, or she was laying down and he was sitting up, and no, Tori was laying on her back and Daniel was laying on top of her.
Okay, and so I just want to make sure we talk about each incident, or each time, each detailed separately. So I just want to jump back. So after you hid and Daniel slapped your butt and you got up, did you guys leave at that point, or did something else happen that time you were there after Friday supper?
I don't remember.
Okay. So when you left that time, how did you leave?
We walked.
Okay. Get out of that.
He unlocked his door because we didn't know how to unlock it.
Why didn't you know how to unlock it?
Because there were like metal things around by his door, just two on each side of the door, and there was like a wood plank in front of the door.
Okay, so there were metal things on the door, and there was a wood plank in front of the door?
Like the metal things were beside the door.
Beside the door?
Yeah.
Okay. And was it up high on the door, or where was it on the door?
Like in the middle.
In the middle. Okay, and only Daniel could unlock it?
Yeah.
Did you unlock it?
No.
Jaslyn?
No.
Tori?
No.
It's only Daniel.
Yeah, and it had like a rusty lock on the front.
A rusty lock. So it had the metal things and the wooden plank and a rusty lock, and Daniel has to unlock it.
Yes.
Did he unlock it?
Yes.
Okay, and then you guys leave.
Yes.
What happened after you left?
We heard snow crunching in the back, and we knew it couldn't be none of us because all three of us were by each other, and Tori said Daniel was...
1 second. Either?
I wasn't listening that.
Okay.
And
so the evidence up to that point about what somebody said is introduced. Anything after that is stopped. So you're to disregard about what anything may have said, even though none of that came in.
So I just want to hear about things that you saw and heard, okay? And then we can ask Tori about what she saw and heard, okay?
Mhm.
So when you guys were leaving, somebody was following you?
Yes.
Who was following you?
Daniel.
Okay. And you said you heard crunching in the snow?
Yes.
Can you describe what you were hearing?
Like, you know when you're walking in the snow and it kind of, like, makes a crunching sound? Yeah.
Okay. So were you walking fast or slow or both?
We were walking in between until we heard that, then we started running.
Did the sound change?
Not really.
Okay, you just heard crunching in the...
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Where'd you go from?
I went home, and Tori went home, Tori and Jaslyn.
Okay. All right. So that was after the supper club. When you were at Daniel's house, was Daniel saying anything to Tori?
Not that I remember of.
Okay. So after the supper club and all that happens, you go home. When's the next time you see Daniel?
I think 2-3 days later.
Okay. And where was that?
At, I think that's when I followed Tori to go get her movies.
Okay, so this happened, you said, before Christmas, right?
Yes.
Do you know when the next time you went to his house was?
I think after Christmas, because Tori got a little DVD player and let Daniel borrow it with a couple movies.
Okay. So you supper club, and the first time you went was in December, and then you think the next time was after Christmas. Do you know if it was January, or do you know what month it was?
Still December.
You think it was still December? Okay.
Or
what day was it?
I don't remember.
Okay. So, and it's okay if you don't remember. I I want to ask you about some details. So do you know it was still December, or?
I do know it was still December.
Okay, you know it's still December.
Mhm.
Okay. And you said Tori got a DVD player?
Yes.
Where was the DVD player?
In his closet on top of the shelf.
Okay, so, and you were about to, you said that Tori got you to go somewhere. Where did you guys go?
Daniel's house.
Right, so after Christmas, Tori got a DVD player and you guys go to Daniel's house. Why did you go to Daniel's house?
To go get her DVD player because she let Daniel borrow it.
Okay, she let Daniel borrow it. All right, so did you and Tori go to his house together, or what happened?
She took a cab and I walked there from housing.
And you met at Daniel's?
Yes.
What happened when you got to Daniel's this time?
Nothing. He sarcastically said that I couldn't come in, and Tori just opened the door and let me in.
Why did you go this time? Why did you go to Daniel's?
Because she didn't want to be alone there.
And when you're saying she, who are you?
Tori.
Tori. Was Jaslyn there this time?
No.
Okay, so it was just you and Tori.
Yes.
Tori goes to get her DVD player, and you go because Tori says she doesn't want to be alone?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so you get to the house, and you said he sarcastically says you can't come in?
Yes.
And what does Tori do?
Lets me in.
So he says you can't come in, and then Tori lets you in the house?
Yes.
So it's just you three in the house?
Yes.
Okay. What happens after that?
I think, I don't remember. I think they were sitting on the couch, or either sitting on the couch or sitting in his room on his bed.
Well, once you guys go in the house, does someone lock the door?
Yes.
Who locked the door?
Daniel.
Daniel locks the door. Okay.
Yes.
And you said you're there to get a DVD player.
Yes.
Right. Is Tori looking for the DVD player, or is anyone getting the DVD player?
No.
Right. And then you guys are in on the couch?
Yeah.
Does Tori get her DVD player back?
Before we leave, yeah.
Right. What happened before she gets the DVD player back?
I don't remember.
Okay, where was the DVD player?
On top of his shelf in his closet.
So does Tori go into his room?
I think, yeah.
How did she go into his room?
Just walks in.
What did Daniel do?
I think followed her.
He follows her, and where are you?
Sitting on the couch, because I thought she would only quickly go get the DVD player and come right back out.
So she goes into the room to get the DVD player, Daniel follows her, and you're still on the couch?
Mhm.
All right, what happens next?
Like 10 minutes later, they come out with the DVD player and movies.
You said not games, what?
Movies.
Okay, so 10 minutes later, they came out with the DVD player and movies.
Yes.
Did you go in the room?
No. I don't think so. I don't remember.
You don't remember? Okay. What is where they went into Daniel's room, where were you in relation to that? Is there a living room and then a bedroom? Is there a room with the couch and then the bedroom?
Yes.
Okay. And then, is there a door?
A little bit broken one.
A broken door? Okay. At any time in those 10 minutes that you were outside of the bedroom and they were inside the bedroom, did you see inside the bedroom?
Not that I remember of.
Do you remember hearing anything while you were outside the bedroom?
Just a couple of thumps.
Some thumps?
Yeah. I just thought they were looking for, like, digging around in his room looking for the DVD player and movies.
Okay. And so they're in there for 10 minutes and then they come out and she has her DVD player?
Yes.
And the movies?
Yes.
Okay. What do you do next?
I don't remember. I think we were just sitting down for a bit, and then she used that excuse again. Her dad calling, saying she has to go home, saying chicken soup's done or something like that.
Okay, so they come out and she says that her dad's calling and there's chicken soup and she has to go home.
Yes.
You said she used an excuse. Why did she need to use an excuse?
I don't know.
Judge calls for speculation.
Well, sustain the objection.
After she came out of the room, did you guys try to leave?
We got ready to.
You got ready to? Okay, was the door unlocked at that point?
No.
Did either of you ask Daniel to unlock the door?
Tori asked him to unlock the door.
Did he unlock it?
Yeah. It took him, like, about 5 minutes to say okay to unlock the door.
It took him 5 minutes?
Yeah, around 5 minutes.
So when she first asked him, does he go and unlock the door?
Not when she first asks him.
Okay. In that 5 minutes, is that when she pretends to make a phone call to her dad, or pretends her dad's calling her?
No, it was before that.
It was before that.
Yes.
And then he waits 5 minutes?
Yes.
Did she tell Daniel anything else about her phone?
The tracker thing. She has like a little tracker in her phone.
She tells Daniel that there's a tracker in her phone?
Yes.
And what does Daniel do when she tells him that?
He just has like this worried look on his face, and about 3 minutes later he unlocks the door.
So she tells him there's a tracker in her phone, and he has a worried look on his face, and then he opens the door?
Yes.
Great. And I just have a few more questions for you, Kate. Were Tori and Daniel dating?
Not that I know of.
Did Tori ever tell you that she wanted to be in a relationship with Daniel?
Objection calls for hearsay.
Either?
Judge, she's about to answer.
I know. Ma'am, just wait. I'm seeing if there's a response from Mr. Byther.
Because it's not for the truth of the matter asserted, it goes to the issue of consent.
Just saying it is for the truth of the matter. You're not to answer the question. You're to disregard the question, ladies and gentlemen. Next question, Mr. Byther.
Right. All right, give me just a second here, Kate. I think I'm almost done.
Yeah, well, he's about done, and we're going to take a break as soon as he's done. Okay.
Thanks.
Mr. Riley said it wasn't going to be too many more questions, okay?
Okay.
Give me just a second here, Kate. Kate, did Tori like boys?
Yes.
Did?
Yeah.
Did she like boys when you guys when she was 16, when this happened?
Yes.
Okay. When you were at Daniels, were you scared?
Yeah.
Are you scared now?
Kinda. Yeah.
Kate, can you point at Daniel? That's Daniel Buckingham.
Mhm.
And, Judge, I'd ask that the record reflect that the witnesses pointed and identified the defendant, Daniel Buckingham.
The record will reflect.
Thank you, Kate. That's all of my questions.
All right, Kate, we're going to take a break here. I'm going to ask you to use that bathroom. See that door that's open right there in between all those doors there? There's a couple doors in there, and there's 2 bathrooms in there. You can use whichever bathroom you'd like, okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break. Mr. Twitchell, Mr. Larson, Mr. Dementif, if you need to get some fresh air, I recommend you do so. You guys look like you're having a little trouble staying awake, so if you need to get some fresh air, get some fresh air. We are going to be making coffee, because Mr. Twitchell, you need to start paying attention a little bit more, okay? All right, 5 minutes. We'll be back at the top of the hour. The Zoom YouTube link is going to remain running, ladies and gentlemen, so.
Did the judge go to the bathroom? I heard someone sounding like they used high heels. Can we stay in here? How long do you break? So after this, is he gonna be asking me questions?
You filling in? Okay. You're ready. All right, we are back on record. Parties are present, jury is present. The coffee is brewing over there, so when it's done, you guys can, during the testimony, you can get up and access that coffee if you need to. Ma'am, you are still under oath, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. And if you turned your phone on during that break, I'd please ask you to turn it off again, so thank you. Mr. Hinge, your witness.
Hi, Ms. Lukak. Is it okay if I call you Kate?
Yeah.
I'm going to try and be very brief, all right? And most of my questions are going to be yes or no questions.
Okay.
So you met Daniel at AC, right?
Yes.
And this is back in 2018, correct?
Yes.
At that time, you said you were friends with Tori Parks.
Yes.
It sounds like you don't hang out with her much anymore, though.
Yes.
To your knowledge, Daniel and Tori ended up becoming friends, right?
Yes.
They texted and talked on the phone, right?
Yes.
And you ended up going to Mr. Buckingham's house 2 times, right?
Yes. No. 3 times.
3 times?
Yes.
Okay. We've only talked about 2 of those times, right?
Yes. I think.
With Mr. Byther, you talked about 2 times that you went to Mr. Buckingham's, just this afternoon, right?
Yes.
1 time was Tori, Jaslyn, and you, right?
Mhm.
And 1 time was just you and Tori, right?
Mhm.
And you said that Tori had been to Mr. Buck. You're aware that Tori...
1 second. Mr. Larson, can I get you to shut the door to the hallway? Sounds like there's some commotion out there. Thank you, Mr. Larson. Sorry, Mr. Ainge, I didn't mean to interrupt. Actually, I did mean to interrupt, but I was doing it for a reason.
You said that you were aware that sometimes Tori went to Mr. Buckingham's house by herself, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to get into the 2 different instances that we've been talking about. But first, so do you remember talking at TWC to an interviewer at the CAC Center?
Yes.
And do you remember your interviewer's name was Amber?
Not really.
All right. Is she a Gussack lady or a Native lady?
I think Native.
Okay. All right. And you did the CAC interview back in August of 2019, right?
Yes.
And fair to say you said you have kind of a bad memory, right?
Yes.
Okay. And the 2 instances we're talking about here today are from, you said December and then maybe January or December?
Yes.
It's fair to say you probably had a better memory of these 2 instances back in 2019 in August when you were talking at TWC, right?
Yes.
Because it was closer in time, right?
Yes.
This is also the 2nd time you've testified today, right? So earlier today you had to come in the courtroom and swear to tell the truth, right?
Oh, yes.
That was just a couple hours ago, right?
Yes.
And we asked you questions about these 2 incidents, right?
Yes.
So there's 1 time where you watched the video, right?
Yes.
All right. And during that incident, you said that you watched the video and it made you cry, right?
Yes.
And it's during that incident that you hid under a bed, right? That visit,
Yes.
sorry, that visit you hid under a bed, right? And somebody touched you on your butt, right?
Yes.
You thought it was Tori, right?
Yes.
And Tori said it was Daniel, correct?
Yes.
And you don't really know for sure who it was, right?
Yes.
And that incident, you're positive, was 2018 and it was before Christmas, right?
Yes.
Now, we talked about the 2nd time that you were at Daniel's. You talked about, with Mr. Byther, you talked about a 2nd time that you were at Daniel's where it was just you and Tori, right?
Yes.
And you said you thought that was after Christmas but still in December.
Yes.
could it have been in January and not December?
Probably.
Okay. Now, during your testimony here today was that during that visit to Daniel's house, that you were on the couch and that Tori and Daniel were in the room for like 10 minutes, right?
Yes.
So earlier today when you testified, when the jury wasn't here, do you remember telling us in the court that the second time that you visited Daniel's house that you had to go into Daniel's room and Daniel was on top of Tori? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I think that was a different time. I don't remember.
Okay.
Because it's been 3 years.
Okay. So now what you're saying is you think there were 3 separate times that you were at Daniel's house.
Yes.
So earlier today, you definitely described 2 incidents. You remember that?
Yes.
And there wasn't a third one that you described earlier today, right?
Yeah.
So just so we're clear, when you testified a couple hours ago without the jury, you only talked about 2 incidents, not 3, right?
Mhm.
Sorry, was that a yes?
Yes.
One of those incidents you described going into Daniel's room and you saw him with his shirt off, right?
Yes.
And you said he was on top of Tori?
Yeah.
And that you kind of shoved him and Tori got away, right?
Yes.
And you said that you thought that you saw he had his pants on, correct?
Yes.
And he had his shirt off, right?
Yes.
Tori had her pants on, right?
A little bit, yes.
They were pulled down a little bit, though, right?
Yes.
But she had her underwear on, right?
Yes, I think.
And she had her shirt on, right?
Yes.
And during that incident, you said that that after you pushed Daniel a little bit, Tori got up off the bed and made a phone call to or pretended to make a phone call to her dad, right?
No, she acted like she got a call from her dad.
She acted like she got a call from her dad.
Yes.
And then said she had to leave, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that's similar to what you said when you were just being questioned by Mr. Byther, the excuse she used before, right?
Yes.
Okay.
She used a couple times.
Okay. Do you remember when you spoke to the interviewer at the CAC that you talked about 2 incidents?
Yes,
Okay.
I think.
So just, sorry, let me rephrase that. You remember you only talked about 2 times that you were at Daniel's house, right?
Kinda, yeah.
The one time was the time where there was the video, right?
Yes.
And the other time was this instance where you said you had to go into the room and you pushed Daniel and got Tori away from him. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And when you talked to the CAC interviewer, you were asked to, well, let me rephrase that. The CAC is over at TWC, right?
Yes.
And when you were in that, you get put in a little room and there's one person that asks you a bunch of questions, right?
Yes.
And they told you that you should tell the truth, right?
Mhm.
And they told you to tell kind of everything that you remember, right?
Mhm.
And when you talked to that person, you only talked about these 2 incidences that I'm talking about, the one where there was the video and the one where you went into the room to push Daniel, right?
Yes. What about the snack thing?
So you said...
No, it was... No, man.
Do you remember saying that you had snacks when
We watched the video. Yeah, I just remember that.
Okay. All right. And it's okay. You already told us that your memory is kind of faulty, right?
Yes.
But now that I mention it, you remember that you only mentioned those 2 times, right?
Uh-huh.
And again, you were told at that point in time to tell the truth, right?
Yes.
And to tell all the times that you remember being at Daniel's house, right?
Yes.
Now today, for the first time, you're telling us there was a third time, right?
But I think, I don't know. My mind's like blurry right now.
Okay. And that's fair. This is kind of scary, right?
Yes.
There are a lot of people here and you're getting a lot of questions.
Yes.
So, could it be that you're confusing, because earlier when Mr. Byther was talking to you, you said there was a time that you went to Mr. Buckingham's and you just sat on the couch and Tori and Daniel were in the room, right?
Yes.
Could it be that you're confusing that with the time that you actually went into the room and saw Daniel with his shirt off and pushed him?
Yes, probably.
Kate, do you know what, so this is a hard question, okay? I'm not trying to embarrass you at all. Do you know what sex is?
Yes.
Okay. So sex is when a man puts his penis in a woman's vagina, right?
Yes.
And in order to have a baby,
It has
you
to.
have to have sex, right?
Yeah, and the sperm has to come out
Right.
to get to the eggs.
You never witnessed Daniel and Tori having sex, right?
Never. It was probably one of the times that I wasn't with her, or me or Jaslyn wasn't with her.
All right. Thank you, Kate. I don't have any other questions.
Are there any redirect?
Just briefly, so Kate, just a few more questions and then we'll be done, okay?
Mhm.
You said you have a bad memory?
Yes.
Right. Is this, being at Daniel's house, these times you went to Daniel's house, is it something you want to remember?
No.
Why not?
Wait, what was the question again?
Is it something you want to remember?
No.
Why don't you want to remember it?
'Cause I don't know, because for like the past couple of years after that incident, when I found out she was pregnant, I felt like I could have done something, but I don't know.
This is something hard for you to remember?
Yes.
So I know we've talked a bunch of times now, and you talked to the CAC, and then you talked earlier today, and now you talked again here. And so Mr. Hangy asked you, and you said you told him there were 2 times that you went to Daniel Buckingham's when you went to TWC. That you told him there was 2 times, right?
Yes.
But now you think you remember 3 times?
Yes, I don't know.
Okay. Is it hard to remember what happened at each time you went to Daniel's
Yes.
house? Do you think you could possibly be mixing up some details?
Probably.
Okay. But all these things happened at Daniel's house?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you, Kate. I don't have any more questions, Judge.
Thank you. You can step down. And Mr. Byther, you need some time to gather your next witness?
Yes, Judge, if we could just take a 10 to 15-minute comfort break, I'll have my next witness ready.
Coffee's ready, folks. I'll be back at the bottom of the hour. We'll be back here in the bottom of the hour. There is a live YouTube. Oh, you're fine. No worries. Don't break anything. You're fine. Once again, if you see us in the hallway or whatever, do not discuss the facts of the case. Do not form any opinion, and we'll try not to be in your area as well. So thank you. Off record. Or pause, whichever easier. This is going to be live. Just remember, everyone, this is live.
There are no mics over here, though.
There's no mics over here, but this is being projected out. Only mics are on the overhead.
Oh, okay.
Bud, are you ready with your next witness? Yes, sir. All right, I'll get the jurors. We are back on record. Parties are present. Jury is present. Butler, your next witness. Parks, if you'll approach. Before you take a seat, I'm going to ask you to remain standing and raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you'll provide in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. You can be seated. I'm going to ask you to, you're very soft-spoken, so can you move the mic a little bit closer to you? Can you please say and spell your full name for the record?
Jazlyn, Jazlynparks.
And how old are you, ma'am?
13.
And what grade are you in?
8th.
And is that here in Bethel?
Yes.
All right, thank you. You are under oath at this time, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Byther from the District Attorney's Office. Mr. Byther?
All right, good afternoon, Jaslyn. How are you doing?
Good.
Are you nervous?
Yes.
A little bit nervous? Okay, that's all right. I'm going to ask you some questions, and then Mr. Hainsey will ask you some questions, and then you'll be done, okay? Jaslyn, do you live here in Bethel?
Yes.
Who do you live with?
My mom, my dad, my sister, and her 2 kids.
And is your mom Amy?
Yes.
And Tori is your sister?
Mm-hmm.
How long have you lived in Bethel?
All my life.
And who is Kate Alukuk?
My friend or old friend.
Is your friend or your old friend? Yes. Okay, did you guys used to hang out a lot?
Yes.
Do you hang out still?
No.
No? But you used to hang out?
Yes.
Okay. How long were you hanging out with Kate for?
Probably from 2nd grade to 6th grade.
Okay. You said you're in 8th grade now?
Yes.
So you stopped hanging out like 2 grades ago, 2 years ago?
Yes.
All right. And who is Daniel Buckingham? How do you know Daniel?
I don't know how to answer that.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. Do you know Daniel Buckingham?
Yes.
Right. Is he someone you met here in Bethel?
Yes.
Where did you meet him?
The AC store.
Okay. And how long ago was that?
Probably 5th grade.
5th grade?
Yes.
So, like 3 years ago?
Yes.
And do you remember what year that was?
No.
Does 2018 sound right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what were you doing at AC Mart when you met Daniel Buckingham?
We were standing outside of the GCI.
What do you do there?
My sister was updating her phone.
Why do you guys go outside GCI at AC?
Because Kate was going to go to the shopping. Kate was going shopping there.
Did you guys hang out there kind of regularly?
Yes.
What did you do when you were hanging out there?
Just hang out.
Okay. And do you use the Wi-Fi there?
Yeah.
Right. How did you meet Daniel when you were there?
He was standing by the 4 wheels, and then he was just kind of hanging out over there by himself, and then he came up and talked to us.
Do you know what Daniel was doing at AC Mart?
No, he was just standing there.
Okay. Do you know if he used to work there?
No.
Okay, you don't know. Okay. Did Daniel at some point talk to you?
Yes.
What did he say to you?
He was telling me and Kate not to bully each other. And he was telling my sister he liked her smile.
So he told you and Kate, were you and Kate bullying each other?
Yeah, we were kind of yelling at each other.
You were arguing?
Yeah.
Right. And he told Tori that he liked her smile?
Mhm.
What happened after that?
After that, he started just asking questions.
When Daniel talked to you and Kate and Tori, what did his voice sound like?
Kind of childish.
So when he first talked to you, it sounded childish? Right.
Yes.
And after that, did you ever hear him use a different voice?
Yes.
What was his different voice?
It sounded like more of a serious adult.
When did he use that voice?
When he got a phone call.
So when he was talking to someone else, he used a serious voice, and when he was talking to you guys, he used a childish voice?
Yes.
All right. After you met him there, did he give you or Kate or Tori anything at AC?
No.
Did you ever see him give Tori anything?
Yes.
What did he give her?
I don't know.
You don't know? You just saw him give her something?
Yes.
Was that at that time at AC or a different time at AC?
A different time.
Okay. And was that at AC or somewhere else?
AC.
Okay. All right. When he told you and Kate not to bully each other, did he say anything else?
No.
When is the next time you saw Daniel?
Probably 2 days after.
And where was that?
AC.
Did you see him a couple times at AC?
Yes.
And would he come up and talk to you guys?
Yes.
And what would he say?
Like just ask questions of what we're doing.
Okay. Would he talk to Tori?
Yes.
What would he tell her?
Probably just ask questions of how her day was. More just things like that.
Okay. Did you guys ever get fruit or anything else at AC?
No. Wait,
No.
yes?
Yeah? Who gave you the fruit?
Our dad.
Your dad did? Okay. All right. At some point after you guys met Daniel at AC and he came up and talked to you a few times, did he ever go to your house?
Yes.
Why did he go to your house?
He said he was going to use the bathroom, but after he went to the bathroom, he went to my sister's room.
And that's your sister Tori?
Yes.
What did he do when he went to her room?
Watched a movie on the computer.
Okay. How many times did he come to your house?
Just once. Wait, no, twice.
Okay. And were your parents there?
Yes. Not the second time, though.
Not the second time? All right. The first time, was he allowed to come in?
Just use the bathroom.
Okay. What happened after he used the bathroom?
After he used the bathroom, he went to my sister's room and watched a movie with her.
Okay. And at some point on that first time, did someone tell him to leave?
My dad did.
Right. When your dad told him to leave, did he leave right away?
I think so. I went to sleep.
Okay. After that first time, you said he came back another time?
Yes.
And your parents weren't there? What happened that time?
He brought a sweater and he said he was going to help with homework.
After that first time when your parents were there, did your parents say he was allowed to come back?
No.
Did they say he wasn't allowed to come back?
Yes, and they told us not to talk to him.
Why wasn't he allowed to come back?
Because my dad didn't know him.
And they told you not to talk to him?
Yes.
Right. When he was in front of your parents, did he use his childish voice or the more serious voice?
More serious voice.
Did you ever see Daniel outside your house?
Yes.
What was he doing outside your house?
Standing by the gas tank in front of my sister's window.
And was he doing anything, or he was just standing there?
I think he was trying to call my sister.
Okay. Was he looking in the window, or when he was outside, was he looking in the window?
Yeah, that's what my sister said he was doing.
Objection, hearsay, move to strike.
Disregard that last answer. It's hearsay. It's somebody's observations.
After you saw him outside the window, did you tell someone?
No. My sister saw him out the window, then she told me to tell my dad.
Did you tell your dad?
Object, Judge.
Yes.
Move to strike all of this questioning. If it's hearsay, originally it sounded like it was her own observations.
Mr. Byther?
Judge, it goes to the effect on the listener, and the testimony we heard was previously was that the father was told, and I'm just asking questions about how the father was told.
That's been established. I just asked you to move on at this point.
Okay.
On this point, also the objection.
That's fine, Judge. So, Jaslyn, after that happened, so Daniel wasn't allowed at your house anymore, right?
Yes.
So when's the next time you saw him after that?
He came over and he dropped off a sweater, which was given to me, and he said he was going to help with homework. Okay, so that was the second time he came and your parents weren't home? Only my mom was home.
Okay. So after that, did you see him somewhere else?
No.
Okay. Did you ever see him, was there ever a time you went to his house?
Yes.
Okay. When you went to his house, what were you doing that day?
Sitting on the couch and watching a movie on his phone.
Before that, did you go somewhere with Tori and Kate?
What do you mean go somewhere?
So the time I want to ask about, do you remember a time that you went to a Friday supper thing with Tori and Kate, and then you went to Daniel's house?
Yes, that was when he came too.
That's when he came to the Friday supper thing?
Yes.
All right, so that day, what were you and Tori and Kate doing?
At his house?
No, before that.
Oh, we were eating at the supper club.
Okay, and the supper club, it's the food that the church across the street serves?
Yes.
All right. Do you remember when that was?
I think I don't know. I'm sorry.
That's okay. If you don't remember anything, that's fine. Was it in wintertime or summertime?
Wintertime.
And was this the same time around when you met Daniel in 2018?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember, was it before or after Christmas?
Before.
Okay. So was it you, Tori, and Kate that went to the supper club?
Yes.
All right. What did you guys do? Did you see Daniel at the supper club or after?
At the supper club.
Okay. And what happened when you saw Daniel?
He sat with us.
Did you guys go somewhere after supper club?
Yes.
Where'd you go?
His house.
What happened when you got to Daniel's house?
It was just us talking, him and Kate and Tori.
You said him and Kate and Tori?
Yes.
Okay. You guys were just talking?
Yes.
All right. What did you do? What did you guys do after you were talking at his house?
After we left.
Okay. Was there a time that you went with Tori and Kate and you guys had some snacks and stuff like that at Daniel's?
Yes.
All right. Was that the same time?
No.
Okay. That was a different time?
Yes.
Okay, so the time that you went with Tori and Kate and you guys had some snacks, was that the same time that you guys watched a video?
No.
Okay, so I want to talk about the time that you went and you watched it. Was there a time you went to Daniel's and you guys watched a YouTube video?
Yes.
All right, was that the same time after supper club?
No.
That was a different time?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to talk about the time that you watched the video. Was that in the same time frame in the winter in 2018?
Yes.
All right, what happened that time?
We were in his room and we were watching a YouTube video, and it was a very scary YouTube video, and Kate went to the couch crying, and he made us watch it a second time to not be scared.
After you guys watched the video, did something happen between you and Daniel?
I started crying, and he was telling me not to be scared, and my sister was just being silent, and I think we went to the his living room to talk to Kate because she was crying on the couch, and that's when we had a snack there, and my sister got him mad, and he started yelling.
Was there ever a time that Daniel touched you?
Yes.
How did he touch you?
He dropped the Ritz cracker, and he told me to pick it up, and that's when.
So after he dropped the cracker and told you to pick it up, what did you do?
I picked it up, and then when I got up, that's when I got scared because of what he did when I picked up the cracker.
What did he do when you picked up the cracker? I know it can be uncomfortable to talk about, and none of these questions are meant to embarrass you, but you just need the jury to hear what happened, okay? So when you went to pick up the cracker, what did Daniel do to you?
That's when he touched me.
Where did he touch you?
On my bottom.
How did he touch your bottom? I know it's hard to talk about, Jaslyn, so if you need a second, just let me know. Did he touch your bottom with his hand?
Yes.
What happened after that?
After that, I got mad. I went to the bathroom.
He went to the bathroom, and what did you guys do?
My sister said we could go home, but we didn't.
Why didn't you go home?
Because he didn't want us to leave.
If he didn't want you to leave, why didn't you just leave anyways?
Because the door is hard to open.
What makes the door hard to open?
It has a really weird lock thing, and I don't think it has a handle.
It only has a lock and it doesn't have a handle?
Yes.
Could you open the door without Daniel?
No.
Could Kate?
No.
Could Tori?
No.
Okay. So you guys wanted to leave, but you couldn't. What did you do after that?
We stayed until my dad called my sister, and that's when we went home.
When you were at Daniel's house, did anyone else ever come to the door?
Yes.
What happened? Who came to the door?
He said it was his brother. He was knocking on the door for a while.
And what did you guys do when that person came to the door, when his brother came to the door?
We went to the closet in his room.
Why?
Because he said his brother wouldn't want to see kids in his house.
So Daniel told you to go to the closet because his brother wouldn't want to see kids in his house?
Yes.
And you said his brother knocked on the door?
Yes.
For a while?
Yes.
Did Daniel say anything to him?
Daniel said that he was busy and he was in the shower, but then how would he be in the shower?
What happened after Daniel's brother left? What did you guys do?
We went back to the living room.
And did something else happen then, or is that when you guys left?
That's when we finally left.
So back when that was happening, Jaslyn, were Tori and Daniel dating?
No.
And when all of that happened, how old were you?
I think I was 9 because on the video I said I was 11. Wait, no, 10.
Okay, so you were 10?
Yes.
All right. So after that happened, was there a time that your sister stopped talking to Daniel?
Yes.
When was that?
That was, I think, after her and Kate went to his house without me.
So after that, she stopped talking to Daniel?
Yes.
Right. Did you notice your sister change at all after that?
Yes.
How did she change?
She stopped talking to me.
She stopped talking to you?
And she started staying in her room.
Started staying in her room?
Yes.
Right. Was she going to school before that?
Yes.
Did she keep going to school?
No.
When you were at Daniel's house, did you want to be there?
No.
Were you scared?
Yes.
Why were you scared?
Because of the last time he got mad.
All right, Jaslyn, I think that's all my questions for you. Mr. Hangie's going to ask you some questions, okay?
Hangie, do you need a moment? Hangie?
Hi. Is it okay if I call you Jaslyn?
Yes.
Okay. Jaslyn, I'm going to try and be quick with my questions, all right?
Mhm.
So you met Daniel at AC, right?
Yes.
And that's where your sister also met him, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you're aware that your sister and Daniel would talk on the phone, right?
Yes.
And they would also text each other, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you went to Daniel's house, it sounds like a couple times, right?
Yes.
And Tori also went to Daniel's house, right?
Yes.
And she went to Daniel's house sometimes without you, right?
Yes, at least once or twice.
Okay. This incident, so I want to clarify something because the time that you watched the video, is that the same time that you had snacks and that you said Daniel touched your butt?
Yes.
Okay, so that all happened one time at his house?
Yes.
All right. And you said that was in December of 2018, right?
Yes.
And that was before Christmas, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Right after that happened in December, you didn't tell your parents about it, right?
About what?
The system has detected that this conference has reached the duration limit for 3 or fewer participants and will now attempt to close the conference. If you wish to remain in conference, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, that sound is... We have a system that allows people to call in to listen to the hearing, just like we're broadcasting this on YouTube. As part of that is the right to a public open hearing, and so all it was is there's only 3 or fewer people, and it only stays open for so long before it gives us that message. But we're going to open it back up, so I don't think you'll hear it by the time we're done for the rest of the day. So that's all that was. Go ahead, Mr. Angie.
Well, I'm just going to ask that question one more time, just in case people didn't hear it. All I said was, you after you said he touched your butt in December, you didn't tell your parents right away, right?
No.
Okay. Judge, I don't have any further questions for Ms. Parks. Thank you, Jaslyn.
And 1 second. Mr. Byther, any redirect?
I don't have any further questions. Thanks, Jaslyn.
All right, Ms. Parks, thank you. You are free to step down. Have a good day.
Judge,
Mr. Byther, do you need a break again?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Byther is going to retrieve his next witness, and so roughly 5-10 minutes or so. If you'll stay nearby, I'm not sure where we are with coffee, but there's coffee and some water there. So once again, Do not discuss the case or form any opinion. Evidence can only be presented one piece at a time. So we are off record at this time. We'll be back 10 minutes, Mr. Byther? All right, it's my clock has it as 3 o'clock. I know that's a little slow, so let's come back at 3:10. Thank you. Seated, thank you. Looks like we're missing a couple of jurors. I'll go wrangle them up from the hallway. All right, we are back on record in State of Alaska versus Daniel and Buckingham. Parties are present. The jury is present. Mr. Byther, your next witness.
Yes, Judge, this state calls Justin Ulak.
Officer Ulak, if you'll stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you'll provide in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. You may be seated. Can you please say and spell your full name for the record?
Justin Lawrence Ulak, Justin Lawrence.
What is your job or occupation?
Unemployed at this point. Previous law enforcement.
Okay. And where do you reside nowadays?
Scammon Bay, Bethel. Two residents.
Scammon Bay and Bethel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anchorage.
Gotcha. All right, you should consider yourself under oath at this time. Mr. Byther, your witness.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ulak. How are you doing?
Great.
Mr. Ulak, you said you currently live in Scammon Bay?
Yes, amongst other places.
Okay. Where did you live before that?
Here.
What was, you said your occupation was law enforcement?
Yes, here in Bethel, the city of Bethel.
The city of Bethel.
Mm-hmm.
You worked for Bethel Police?
Yes.
What was your position there?
Before I left, I was a sergeant. Prior to that, investigator, and then regular officer.
Right. How long were you with BPD?
2013 to February of this year.
So like 7-8 years?
Close to.
Okay. Were you with Bethel Police Department back in December of 2018 and January of 2019?
Yes.
And I guess moving forward from that, were you with BPD in August of 2019?
Yes.
And I think you recently told me that you moved to Scammon Bay to be with your family. Is that right?
Yes.
Right. And at that point, did you resign from BPD to move to Scammon?
I'd say so. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Were you working in your capacity as a law enforcement officer with Bethel Police Department on August 19th of 2019?
Yes.
Did you become involved in a case involving Tory Parks, Jaslyn Parks, Daniel Buckingham, and Kay DeLucic?
Yes, Catherine.
Catherine, okay. And how did you become involved in that case?
Well, I was investigator at that point, and the sergeant appointed me 3 days later after the original report came in to take over.
At that point, did you become the case officer for that investigation?
Yes.
What was the initial report that BPD received?
The mother of Tori had made the report that Tori was raped.
And
essentially.
Did that report entail when that alleged rape occurred?
Months prior.
It had been months?
Yeah.
Okay. And, Mr. Ulick, are you familiar with the term acute? An acute report?
Yes.
All right. Was that an acute report?
No.
What does acute mean, an acute report mean?
Well, acute, I would put it, there's a specific time frame of the actual incident took place, and then there's that specific time frame where we could do testing and stuff, immediate testing.
So, and this case, you said it was months between the incident and the report?
Yes.
Would you consider that a delayed report?
Yeah.
All right. How does an acute report versus a delayed report affect how you investigate a case?
Well, depending on what type of report it is, whether it's delayed or not, we go into evidence gathering faster than acute reports. Non-acute reports are different. So it just happened. We're going to be on the ball with interviews and then DNA collection processes. Versus not, we could take our time doing the stuff depending on if there is any there. So
based on your experience, are you more likely to get physical evidence in an acute report where it just happened or in a delayed report?
Every situation varies. Some of them we're able to.
Okay. So you said something about getting DNA testing in an acute report?
Yes.
Is that something you would do with a delayed report?
We can, depending on the situation.
Right. And is that something you did in this case?
Yes.
And what DNA did you collect?
Well, from 3 people, Daniel Buckingham, Toy Parks, and the newborn at the time, infant, Giselle Parks.
And what was your goal in collecting that DNA?
See if they matched each other.
To establish paternity?
Yes.
All right. What other steps, can you just give me an overview of the steps you took in your investigation once you were assigned to this case?
Well, someone makes a report, you have to get interviews done, but these were children, so we went to a children advocacy center for interviews and potential evidence collection, which we did here in Bethel. From there, contacting or trying to locate anyone else involved, which we tried, and then Daniel Buckingham, and then from there, getting evidence, DNA collected, which is buccal swabs, just cotton swabs of people's saliva that we sent out for testing, and then, writing that report all together and getting the DNA analysis back from the crime lab here in Alaska, and
okay.
So lengthy process for this one.
So you got the girls, and when you said the kids, you're talking about Kate, Tori, and Jaslyn?
Yes.
Catherine, Tori, and Jaslyn? Okay. So you got them and got them into CAC interviews, and then you collected DNA to do the paternity test, and you said you tried to contact Daniel Buckingham?
Yes.
And what were you contacting him for?
Well, he's the main person involved, said to have raped Tori and the other children.
So was your goal to interview him?
Yes.
Okay. Were you able to do that?
No.
Why not?
He wasn't in Bethel, Alaska. No current contact information.
Okay, so you weren't able to contact him?
Yes.
All right. Did you take any other steps in your investigation?
Other steps? I've gone through the court for warrants, search warrants, and such.
Okay, so you got interviews with the people involved. You did the CAC interviews. You got the DNA, and you attempted to contact Daniel Buckingham. Were there any other big pieces of your investigation that I'm missing?
No.
Okay.
Interviews, evidence collection, sent out for processing. Okay. Tried contacting everyone involved, then went forward with the courts and what I had.
All right, and based on the delayed report and the time that had passed, were there other steps that you could have taken?
No. I can't see myself taking any other step. You could do investigations different. I could have held off in case I did find them, but, the length of time, the way I did it, is after I got everything that I did get, I sent it over. I mean, I could have held on to the case, but there's no reason in doing that. So, just based on the investigator, so.
All right, Mr. Ulek, I believe that is all of my questions at this point. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Hangy, any questions?
Yes. Good afternoon. I'll try and call you Mr. Ulak. If I call you Sergeant Ulak, sorry, it's just habit. But Mr. Ulak, good afternoon. How are you?
Great, you?
I'm doing well. So I'll jump right in here. The initial report came from Amy Parks, right?
The mother, yes.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. Amy Parks, Tory Parks' mother, correct?
Yes.
You did not yourself take that initial report, correct?
No.
And who did?
Sergeant Cash, Officer Quittem.
Okay. And then you said 3 days later, you were assigned the case by Sergeant Cash, I would guess.
Yes.
Okay. One of the first things you did is to set up CAC interviews, right?
One of the immediate things, get their side of this, what happened.
We've used that phrase a lot. What does CAC mean?
I said it, it's Children's Advocacy Center.
Okay. And what is a CAC interview specifically? Like, what happens at a CAC interview?
CAC is just a bunch of what we call team members get together, professionals, healthcare, advocacy, providing for the families and what they might need, a safe place for the children of various ages to come and talk, whatever the needs might be for that child. It's just a safe place.
So, and this is, I'm just generally speaking, a typical CAC, there's normally like a law enforcement officer, right?
Yes.
There is sometimes an advocate from TWC, right?
Yes.
Medical professionals if necessary, right?
Yes.
And then there's typically an interviewer who actually does the interview, right?
Yes.
And sometimes the interviewer could be a law enforcement officer, or it could be somebody else who's trained who is employed by TWC, right?
Yes.
Okay. And when these CAC interviews take place, they're in a room where it's just the person being interviewed and then the person doing the interview, right?
Yes, essentially.
In that room, however, there are microphones.
Yes.
And is it a camera or is it clear glass that's one, or not clear glass, but
it's a camera system.
It's a camera system? Okay. And so the people that are being interviewed are told that there are microphones and cameras, right?
Yes.
And then the other individuals, and you said called them team members, right?
Yeah.
The other team members participate in the interview, but from somewhere else, right?
Yes.
So they're watching the interview, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And part of the reason these CAC interviews are set up this way is to try and make sure that that the people that are being interviewed, the children, that they feel comfortable, right?
Part of it.
And that they feel like they can disclose anything to the people that are interviewing them, right?
Yes.
And that's one of the things that they're told at the outset, that in the CAC interview they're supposed to be truthful, right?
Yeah.
And that it's a safe space.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you did not conduct the CAC interviews for, I'm going to call her Kate because that's what she said earlier, Kate,
Okay.
Tori, or Jaslyn, right?
Yes, but I was present
But you were present.
on the live.
So you were on the feed, right?
Yeah.
The video feed, you watched it? Okay. Do you remember, if off the top of your head, who did the interview? Well, we'll start. Who did the interview for Kate? Do you remember?
For Catherine, it was Amber Jones.
And do you remember who did it for Tori or Jaslyn?
Megan Keene. Both working with TAC as
Megan
interviewers.
Keene did both Tori and Jaslyn.
The Parks family, yes.
Okay. During these CAC interviews, do you also meet with parents?
Yes.
Are the parents able to watch the CAC interview?
No.
Why is that?
We're trying to prevent them from interfering with that specific portion of the investigation. You know, they're watching their child going through something that's potentially traumatic to the children, so we keep them out of there in case, you know, they might want to barge in and, you know,
Okay.
stop the interview or something.
Is another reason that they might not be allowed to watch it is so that the kids can feel that they can say whatever they want to say, right?
Yeah.
All right. I want to talk about a couple of these CACs that were done. So, well, let me take a step back. In addition to kind of what you described for Mr. Byther, you created body cameras during your investigation and audio recordings during your investigation, right?
Yes.
Did you have a chance to review those at all before today?
Some of them.
Okay, all right. If there's ever a question that you don't know, you can just say you don't know, and if I can't refresh your recollection with your police report, we can obviously listen to some audio, okay?
Yes.
So Tori Parks was CAC'd, correct?
Yes.
And she described an incident of a sexual assault, right?
Yes.
That was the only incident that she talked about Mr. Buckingham's, being at Mr. Buckingham's house, right?
No.
There was another incident that she talked about?
No. I mean, as far as sexual contact.
Oh, I'm sorry. So let me rephrase that. When Ms. Parks was interviewed about her being at Buckingham's house, she talked about the incident of the sexual assault.
Yes.
And then she noted the other incident, sorry, there were two, right? The other incident where there was disclosures about allegations that Mr. Buckingham might have touched somebody's butt, right? One of the other children, right?
Two.
Okay. Those are the two incidents that she talked about, right?
That Tori brought up?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to focus on just the incident where she was talking about the sexual assault. In that incident, she said that Kate was present in the home, correct?
Yes.
She did not say, she said Jaslyn was not present, though, right?
Yes.
And then specifically, I want to bring up, so when during the CAC interview, she said that incident occurred in January, right?
Around there.
Yeah. And she said
Could have been.
The reason she remembered January was because she had her last period in January, right?
She had her first period in January, and then following that could have been February or end of January.
Well, so she actually just says the end of January, right?
With her knowledge, yes.
Okay. She didn't say February. She just said January, correct?
In my investigation, not just based on hers, it was
So sorry to interrupt.
end of January.
I just want to. So I understand what you're saying, your investigation. I just want to know what Ms. Park said. She just said it was in January, right?
For the period, yes.
And for when the offense occurred during the CAC.
I don't recall. I'm collectively thinking about everyone else's statement because there's 2 months where her period first started. So I'm confusing myself on.
If I pointed you out to the portion in your police report where it mentions it, would that refresh your recollection?
Yes. For just Tori.
Yeah.
Statement.
1 second, sorry, I don't actually.
Judge, may we approach?
You're gonna hear some white noise, so just
Mr. Ulak, we're going to move on to when she described the sexual assault at the CAC, she described having her pants off, correct?
Haven't had them taken off,
Yeah.
Yes.
And her underwear off, right?
Yes, in the same manner, taken off.
And she said she had her top on, correct?
Yes.
And she said that Mr. Buckingham had his pants off, right?
I believe so.
But had his top on as well, right?
Yeah, their shirts.
Okay.
At some point. And Tori Parks knew how old Mr. Buckingham was. She said he was 26 or 27 during the CAC, right? Yes. Been about 10 years, I believe she said.
You also witnessed Catherine's CAC interview, right?
Yes.
During her CAC interview, and that one was done by Amber Jones at the time, now Amber Chung, right?
Yes.
During Kate's CAC interview, she talked about 2 distinct times that she was at Mr. Buckingham's house, right?
Yes.
In one instance, it was her, Jaslyn, and Tori, and they watched a video that Mr. Buckingham showed them, right?
Okay.
And in the other instance, it was unclear if Jaslyn was there from the CAC interview, but it involved Kate's statement that she had to go into the bedroom and kind of pull Daniel, and then Tori got up, right?
Yes.
Okay. Her statement for that incident was that Mr. Buckingham had his shirt off, right?
Yes.
But his pants on, correct?
Yes.
And that Tori Parks had her shirt on, correct?
Yes.
Her pants were on, but they were down a little bit, right?
Yes.
And her underwear was
close to midway, yeah.
Yeah. And and her underwear
upper
was on
thigh,
too?
yeah. Midway,
What?
upper thigh?
Yeah. And her underwear was on too, though, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to talk about some stuff that wasn't done here.
Mm-hmm.
Most of it's probably because it couldn't have been done. But as part of your investigation, you didn't take any pictures of any injuries of Tori Parks, right?
No.
And that's because the report was in August and the alleged incident was in January.
Yeah, if there was anything existing at that point, it would be done by a nurse anyway.
To the best of your recollection, she never told you that she had any bruises from the alleged.
No.
And additionally, you didn't collect any medical records, right?
No.
And that's because, to the best of your knowledge, she didn't go to the doctor at the time of the incident, right?
At the time of the incident, no.
Okay. And there was no SART examination done, correct?
Well, it's a part of practice with CAC. With the nurse, they do a body examination.
Was a body examination done in this case?
They brought her to a local hospital where they found out Tori was pregnant. So exam should have been done there.
You didn't obtain any records of that examination, though, correct?
No.
And when I say a SART examination, what's SART stand for?
Sex Assault Response Team.
And Mr. Byther talked to you about acute
And non-acute, yeah.
During an acute instance of sexual assault, an individual will typically be taken to the hospital to have an interview done there with law enforcement, a medical provider, and an examination will be done at that time, right?
Depending on if they're adult or not.
Okay.
If they're children, they go to CAC.
Okay. And the medical examination is done?
Yeah. Okay. 2 different locations for adults and children.
So the medical examination that was done on Tori Parks was very different than the medical examination that would be done if it was an acute sexual assault?
Just slightly, I guess.
But there's not going to be any evidence that you can...
Well, there is evidence. In this case,
Okay, let me rephrase that then. There's most likely not going to be any injury or documentation of injury. Correct?
injuries, yes.
All right. The evidence you're
Unless it was,
talking
like,
about is the fact that she was
child.
pregnant,
Yep.
and then that caused you to go get a
Yeah.
DNA test. And
Yeah, this case was different. Why I didn't need that. Just the fact that there was a child, got DNA from the child, so.
During the course of your investigation, was it mentioned that Daniel and Corey communicated via phone?
Yes.
Were you able to obtain any sort of text messages or call logs or anything?
No. After I was informed information had been deleted already.
Okay. Did you contact GCI to get any records of any kind?
No.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Rather, any redirect?
Just a few questions. Mr. Ulek, are you aware if anyone from the Parks family attempted to get text messages or GCI records?
No.
You're not
After
aware?
the fact, no.
Okay.
Not
Right.
aware.
And we talked a little bit about collecting DNA samples. You actually collected those samples, right?
Buckle swamps, just,
And you sent those to a lab, to
Yes.
the state crime lab?
yes.
Right. And to your knowledge, was there a report returned?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ulek. That's all my questions.
Mr. Ulek, you can step down. Rather, your next witness?
Yes, Judge, if we could just take another 10, 15-minute break, the state will call its last witness.
How about 3:45? Back in the court by 3:45? Is that enough time?
That should be fine, Judge.
Okay. 3:45, once again, feel free to use the bathroom, get something to drink. Do not form any opinion or discuss the facts of the case. Evidence can only be presented one piece at a time. So thank you. And as I've stated before, the YouTube Zoom link will remain on. You can be seated. All right, we are still on record in State of Alaska versus Daniel Buckingham, case number 4BE-19-1554CR. Parties are present. The jury is all accounted for. Mr. Byther, your next witness.
Yes, Judge, the state calls Amy Parks.
Ms. Parks, I'm going to ask you to stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you'll provide in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You can be seated. Can you please say and spell your full name for the record?
Amy Parks, AMYPARKS.
What is your job or occupation?
I work at prematernal. I recently, last year, moved to prematernal as a prematernal attendant.
And do you live here in town?
Yes.
Right. You should consider yourself under oath at this time. Mr. Byther, your witness.
I'm sorry, Judge, I just need to address Ms. Parks privately with one issue that was discussed with the court earlier.
If you want to step out into that exit way right there, and just knock and we can push the door back open for you. And we're going to put some white noise on just to make sure nobody can hear what's happening out in the hallway there. No, nothing. Brother, go ahead.
All right, and I apologize, Judge. So, Ms. Parks, good afternoon. How are you doing?
All right.
Okay. Ms. Parks, are you from here in Bethel?
I'm originally from the Yukon Mountain Village.
How long have you been living in Bethel?
Over since I was 18. I'm going to be 54 now.
And Ms. Parks, it's totally up to you, but if you want to remove your mask so everyone can hear you, you can take your mask off while you're seated there. And if you want to just move that microphone a little bit closer to you, just to make sure everyone can hear. Ms. Parks, who do you live with here in Bethel?
I live with my husband, Tori, Jaslyn, Giselle, and Ariel, and Dylan. Parks.
And you said Jaslyn and Tori are your daughters?
Yes.
Okay. How old is Tori?
She's now 19.
And how old is Jaslyn?
She's now 13.
Parks, do you know Daniel Buckingham?
To the children, yes.
Okay. Have you ever met Daniel Buckingham?
Not only when I went to check them at the store because they were Wi-Fiing there.
Okay, so they were Wi-Fiing at the store?
Yes, that's when I first met him.
Okay, and Daniel Buckingham was at the store?
Yes, I thought he was a kid because he sounded like a kid.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I thought he was a kid because he sounded high-pitched like a little kid. Like I'm adult right now, but you notice how I'm trying to sound like a little kid now? That's what he was doing.
That's what Daniel was doing when he talked in front of Tori and Jaslyn?
Yes.
Okay. Did you see Daniel Buckingham at any point other than that?
When I asked my children, they said he was helping them with homework.
So, but that was a different time than when you saw him at the store?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Did you ever...
That was the first time I seen him. Then I asked them, who is he, that he'd been helping them with homework.
Did Daniel ever come to your house?
Yes.
Were you there?
Yes.
Right.
First time.
When he came to your house, was he still speaking like a kid, or did he speak differently?
Yes.
He was still speaking like a kid?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever hear him use a different voice?
Only when I looked straight at him, I noticed he didn't look like no kid.
So when you went to AC, when you met him at AC Mart, did you ever look straight at him?
Just side profile, because he was like always looking down every time we try to look at him.
But you recognized him at AC Mart?
Yes.
Right. And that's when he was speaking like a kid. And then when he came to your house, you're saying you looked right at him and you realized he wasn't a kid?
Mhm.
Right.
That's when I told him, the girls, he cannot come anymore.
Okay. So once you realized he wasn't a kid, he wasn't allowed to come over anymore?
Mhm.
Right. Did you ever see him again after that?
No, but my children said he was.
Objection, Judge, hearsay.
Okay, that's okay. I'm going to ask you some specific questions about what Tori told you, but other than that, I just want to know about what you saw and heard from Daniel, okay?
Okay.
So was that the last time you saw Daniel in person?
Yes.
Okay.
But I did run into him on the way to work before.
Okay. Was that before or after the
I
incident
think
with Tori?
after the event.
Okay, so all right, we'll talk about just before the incident for now, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that was the last time you saw him in person before the incident with that happened with Tori?
Mhm.
Okay. And when I say the incident that happened with Tori, do you know what I'm referring to?
Yes.
All right. How do you know about that?
She didn't tell me anything until she was looking out the window. She was always using big sweaters, and I asked, when she turned to look out the window, her belly popped out, and I said, that doesn't look like fat. And I was doing this, and she started crying and telling me what had happened.
Okay, so let's jump back just a little bit. When did you look and see that her belly was different? Do you remember when that was?
Like 5 months.
So when you met Daniel, do you remember what year?
When it just started getting warmer.
When you talked to Tori is when it started getting warmer?
Mhm.
All right, well, let's jump back a little bit.
It seemed like she would try telling me, but then, she'd get scared and not say nothing.
Okay, so I want to jump back to when you met Daniel. Do you remember when that was?
Sometime in the winter.
In the winter, and do you remember what year that was?
2019.
Okay. Was that like January 2019 or December 2019? Do you remember?
Around January, I think.
Okay, so this would have been...
I'm not really sure. It's either December or in January. It
Okay.
was around the cold when it was still winter.
Right, so this was in the winter of like December 2018 and January 2019.
Yeah, 2019.
Okay. All right. And then when it started getting warmer several months later, that's when you noticed something was different about Tori?
Yes.
When you saw her belly was different?
Yes, she was very different, not want to leave the house all of a sudden.
Okay, and we'll get to that. I just want to focus right now on when you looked at Tori and you saw her belly was different.
Mm-hmm.
That was several months after winter when it was getting warmer. Okay. And so you saw her belly was different, and you felt her belly, and you said you didn't notice it before then because she was wearing big sweaters?
Mm-hmm.
All right, but once you noticed her belly, you touched her belly, and then what did Tori say?
She started crying, shaking, and she started detailing to me what had happened.
What did she tell you happened?
Huh?
What did she tell you had happened?
After I felt her little bump on her stomach.
Yeah, what did she say happened?
That he had forced her pants down and put his thing in there, in and out, and like that, something like that.
And
that's when I didn't want to hear anymore. I just called the cops right then.
When she said that he had done this, that he had forced her pants down and put his thing in, and is that what you said? She said he forced He forced her pants down and then put his thing in and out?
Yes.
Okay. When she said he, did she say a name?
Daniel,
She said Daniel Buckingham?
yes.
And
Not the last name, but I knew who
She
she
said
was
Daniel.
referring to.
Okay. And when she told you that, did she say that she wanted to have sex with him?
No,
Did she say anything else when she told you that?
no,
And then, so you said you didn't want to hear anymore and you just called the police.
yes.
Right, so I want to jump back to after you met Daniel. Was there a time after you met Daniel and he came to your house, was there a time that that Tori stopped talking to him that you're aware of?
Not while he was at our house, but right, I guess after the incident, that's when she didn't want him texting, calling.
And
For some reason, she said, he's calling me, upset. He's texting me. Look what he's...
Judge, hearsay.
And then I grabbed the phone and I
1 second, Ms.
told him to please
Parks.
don't
Ms.
call.
Parks, 1 second, there was an objection.
Oh, I'm sorry, I could only hear on one side.
Okay, that's fine. Just 1 second here. Either?
just a second, Ms. Parks. Judge, it's any statements that Tori made about the defendant calling go to the effect on the listener, Ms. Parks.
Strongly disagree. It's being offered for the truth of the matter.
Judge, we can approach if we need to, but Judge, I'm going for what was a command, not a statement.
All right, so we can go into the sidebar on this one. I'm going to take further argument on this. We're going to get off and we're going to go into the side room here. Mr. Buckingham, you're free to join us. You can probably hear some white noise. All right, we are back on record. The objection is overruled. The court will allow the question. Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to hear an answer that is not a statement from the testifying person here, Ms. Parks. It's from her sister, but that is being offered solely to prove the actions taken by Ms. Park after receiving that. So just to explain why she took the next following action. So, Mr. Byther, you can repeat the question, and Ms. Parks, you're free to answer.
So, Ms. Parks, you were saying that Tori was telling you something about Daniel Buckingham contacting her?
Oh, yes. She was getting texts and about him, he was saying he's thinking of her, and she clearly did not like that and was upset about it. And I told her, we can go through GCI and have this taken care of. And she goes, no, I want it done right now. So I grabbed the phone and I gave him a message to quit talking to her, quit texting her, leave her alone. She clearly doesn't want nothing to do with you. And that was it.
All right. And do you remember if that happened back in the winter or when it was getting warmer, or when did that happen?
Around the time it was getting warmer.
Okay. So after you met, how long after you met him?
Maybe like a month, less than that.
So do you think it was, what month do you think it was in?
In March, April, around when it was getting warmer.
All right. So back in the winter time, after you met Daniel and then he was no longer allowed to come over, you said that you noticed some changes in Tori?
Yes.
When did those start?
After December, she didn't want to leave the house anymore. She'd only go store with her dad. She'd only go anywhere if he was with her dad.
Was Tori, before December and January, was Tori going to school?
Yes. She was a good student. She wanted to go to school. She had aspirations in life, like any teenager. But after the incident, she didn't want to leave her room anymore. She just cut off her family, her relatives, and she started being off, like different, not like her happy self she used to be.
How long did that behavior last for?
It's still ongoing. She gets panic attacks around people, especially around males. She gets panic attacks. She gets, panic attacks. Her doctor will have more on that.
What does she do when she stays? You said she stays in her room. What does she do when she's in her room?
She's always on her game. So far, she told me pass it 3 times so far. And she had that game like less than a year.
And in her room, where does she stay in her room?
In her closet. She says she feels more safe in there. And that's just like maybe the size of, little smaller as the size of a table, smaller size than that table.
How much time does she spend in her closet?
All day, if you allow her to.
You said that's still going on?
Yes, it's an ongoing thing.
How does Tori talk about herself now?
She goes, what's alarmed me is herself talking about herself as another person, and that's a little alarming for me to hear her go, why are you talking about Tori Parks like that? She's talking about herself, not another person.
She's talking about herself like
yes, like she's somebody else defending Tori Parks. I don't know how to explain that, but that kind of came up this year, that herself talking about herself as another person.
So, Ms. Parks, you said she was a happy teenager before this incident.
Yes.
Have you seen that happy teenager since that incident happened?
No, she's just declining her health. She's no longer that want to go Vegas or go get an awesome job with a really good degree. But she just became a little lost person in her room. No more wanting to go to school. No more wanting to go to church anymore. And that's kind of hard for me to see because she used to thrive around those things. And now she just stays in her room. Sorry.
Ms. Parks, when Tori had her baby, did she take care of it?
She didn't want anything to do with it.
She doesn't want anything to do with it?
She talks to her and, but my husband does the baby. I was trying to give her up for adoption, knowing how she was conceived.
But you and your husband kept the baby?
My husband wanted to keep the baby.
And you guys take care of it?
He's the main taker. He's the one that mainly takes care of her. But I do buy the diapers and what she needs.
Thank you, Ms. Parks. Judge, that's all my questions.
Mr. Parks, do you need a moment?
Yes?
Good.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have very many questions, Judge. Ms. Parks, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Is it all right if I call you Amy just because we got a lot of people named Parks? Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to take you to, well, let me first start. Your children met Daniel at AC and through church, right?
Yes.
And you knew that he was communicating with Tori back in the December, January area, right? Because he'd been to your house a couple times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you knew they communicated through phone too, right? Text and phone calls?
She would respond, yes, to him, but before that occurred, she didn't mind that, but after the incident, she didn't want no text, no nothing to do with the man after.
Okay. So, when you noticed that she was gaining weight, you said it was when it was getting warmer, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you also said you called the police right away, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the police report that we received says that was in August. Does that sound about right?
It took a while for them to actually do any actions, but yes, it took a couple hours for them to come.
Okay, right.
Actually,
You called the one number, and then you also called another number, right, to try and get the police to come when you first found out.
mm-hmm.
You called two
My
different.
husband called the other number, I think,
Right.
because he was getting frustrated
That they weren't there.
that they weren't coming fast enough.
Okay. But they came the same day that you called them, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so if that was testified to earlier that was in August, that would be when it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And as you said, you noticed that she was gaining weight. You asked her about it. She made those statements that you said to Mr. Byther, and then you called the police right away, right?
Yes.
One of the other things she said during that time was that she told you that Kate Lukak was there when the incident happened, right?
Yes.
And by incident, we mean sexual assault, right? That's what.
Yes.
Okay. So you said you texted Daniel to tell him to stop contacting Tori.
No, I left a voice message to leave her alone.
Okay.
Quit talking to her, quit. For some reason, she was clearly upset he would be thinking of her that day.
And you think this was in the springtime because you said it was getting warmer. All right. So April, May, sometime there?
Yes.
It was before,
Around May, April, May, when it was a little warmer.
so right around breakup, kind of.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And that's when you left a voice message, and after that, the contact between Daniel and Tori stopped, right?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Are there any redirect?
No, Judge, I don't have any more questions.
Parks, thank you. Your testimony's done for today. Thank you.
I can leave?
You can leave, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Either, do you have another witness?
No, Judge, the state rests.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, the state has rested, and so we will take up matters tomorrow. I believe I have a clean calendar tomorrow. I'm going to step into the room there with the attorneys, and I'll be back, and we'll give you a time as to when we can start tomorrow, okay? But you're free to get some water at this point, but we're going to step in the side room just so we can have a conversation outside of your presence. Bar on again. I'm just checking my calendar. You guys Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to be excused to go today from the village. Please make your lodging, if you haven't already done so, back at 9:30 tomorrow. We will be working from 8:30 to 9:30 to make sure everything's in place. We're down to 12 jurors. 9:30, yes, 9:30. We're down to 12 jurors. We lose one, cannot go any further. And then everyone has to stay on this case until we can get everyone back, which will be 2 weeks or so. Nobody wants to stay on jury service with their life disrupted for 2 weeks. I'm asking you to behave yourself tonight so you're prepared to go tomorrow. 9:30 tomorrow. Please be on time. Thank you. And Ms. Tinker, you're going to be the last one out, so on your way out, can you make sure that both double doors are shut? Oh, officer, thank you. I appreciate that. All right. We are outside the presence of the jury. Officer, your flashlight's on, just so you're aware. Is there anything we need to take up now that we didn't take up briefly in the sidebar there? I know you guys are having a conversation. If you want, you continue having a conversation. I can come back in 5 minutes if there's anything further you need from me.
I don't think we need anything further tonight, Judge.
Okay. So 8:30 tomorrow, jury instructions, if there's going to be any sort of further argument about possibly what's going to be presented tomorrow, and then we go into things at 9:30. So, thank you, everyone. Good night, Mr. Buckingham. I'm turning the Zoom link off now, just so you guys are